It is a great day to be a Fire fan because today the Chicago Fire went up against LA Galaxy and won. And you know I gotta talk to you about it. You're watching Firewatch FC. And before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe. It would help me out a ton. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. You guys know how it goes already. It's green boxes for good performances and red boxes for bad ones. And the first green box for today is going to go to Brian Gutierrez. It is no surprise that Brian Gutierrez is the man of the match for this game. In my opinion, he quite literally had his best match in his professional career. He was finally able to combine his creativity with some aggression. And it's about time because everyone knows that Brian Gutierrez has the creativity that the number 10 position requires. But he always lacked that killer instinct. Today, we saw Guti take on his role with swagger that we haven't seen since the Houston Dynamo game. That killer instinct is the final piece of the puzzle for Guti to become a monster in this league. And I'm not the only one that thinks so. I like watching the Fire games in Spanish because I think the announcers are just way better. And every time Guti attempted a shot, you would hear the announcers praise Guti for his efforts, egging him on to keep going. I am not kidding. After his first shot on the 40th minute, you could hear the announcers say, "Bien, bien, bien, Brian, así es." Which translates to, "Good, good, good, Brian, that's the way." There is just something about Guti that makes you want to root for him. In a few words, he just gives every Fire fan hope. And in this match, he didn't disappoint. Brian took chances at goal, had accurate passes, created chances out of nothing. He even nutmegged opponents. Everything that makes Brian great was in full display. He made this match so exciting to watch because on the other side of that midfield is Riqui Puig, who has been making waves across the league for being such a great midfielder. And at least in my head, this made it a battle for the midfield. Riqui Puig had more accurate shots at goal, but what made Brian the king of the midfield was a combination of his accurate passes, his shots attempt that in the end gave us the winning goal, and even more impressively, his defensive work rate. Brian Gutierrez frustrated Riqui Puig. Anytime the ball was loose in the midfield, Guti found a way to recover the ball. He performed tackles, interceptions, and was just putting in the dirty work. There is no way that I can fully express how big of a deal this actually was. A 20-year-old Brian Gutierrez from Berwyn, Illinois, went up against a student from La Masia, Barca's famed youth academy, and beat him in the midfield. Clear as day. This is a green box for Guti. Now we can go ahead and move on to our next green box, and that's going to go to Carlos Terán. This is Terán's third green box in a row, and it's for good reason. Ever since the team switched to a back three and Terán was placed in the center between Chijos and Pineda, Terán has just become something special. It's pretty clear that Chijos has been regressing this season. He's a little older and that's making him a little slower and he's just struggling to keep up. Pineda, on top of being in bad form, is not a center back, and he's been struggling to stop the opposition. But then, this is where Terán enters the chat. Terán is just so physically gifted that he can cover both of them when they make a mistake. He's quick enough to catch a runner with a head start, and he's done that a few times in this game. He also did something that I really liked. In the first opening minutes of the match, Terán actually went for a tackle against Riqui Puig, and it definitely scared the shit out of Puig, because after that, Puig avoided Terán the rest of the game. Terán just has that effect on the opposition. Anytime the LA Galaxy got into the Fire's half, Terán was ready to pounce on anyone who dared to come close. Amazing defending. When Terán is in good form, good things happen for the Fire. Green box for Terán. And now we can move on to our first and only red box, and that's going to go to Mauricio Pineda. Unfortunately, Mauricio Pineda had another bad game. In the 45 minutes that he played, he had 0 tackle attempts, lost all of his duels, and got cooked by Perez in the 43rd minute. That slide tackle pretty much summed up his performance of the night. And this sucks because just like I said on the other video, I was expecting so much more from Pineda. But he's in bad form, and we should avoid putting him in the starting 11, at least until he can find his form again. What sucks even more is that our depth chart for the center back position is looking bleak, because as much as I like Suke, I don't like him as a center back. And Aragoni does a pretty good job, but he's not a true center back. A more permanent solution is definitely required. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. That next DP slot should probably go to the center back position. Like I said, red box for Pineda. And now we can move on to our third and final green box, and that's going to go to the partnership between Hugo Kuipers and Marin Haley Selassie. Marin looked perfect next to Kuipers. I'm glad we finally found a solution for our second striker problem. In the Belgian league, Hugo Kuipers thrived with a second striker next to him. And Klopas having Barlow or Gutierrez next to him was a good idea, but they're just not good enough for a starting 11 spot. Barlow doesn't have a good touch, so all he can offer is a high press, but it's to no end. And Gutierrez is just too green to be a starter. With multiple chances, he just hasn't been able to find the net. Haile Selassie, on the other hand, can do it all. He can press, he can dribble through defenders, he can pick a pass, he can let some shots off. All of that was in full display today. Let me just read off some stats to prove my point. 91% accuracy, 1 out of 2 shots on target, 3 out of 4 successful dribbles, 4 out of 7 ground duels won. It was a great performance today from Haile Selassie. And when we look at Hugo Kuipers, it's simple. He got the goal again. He's been in great form since DC. DC, he got an assist. Against Orlando, he got the goal. And now a goal against the LA Galaxy. Kuipers is finding his groove, and it couldn't happen at a better time. Kuipers is starting to live up to that $12 million price tag. So it's going to be a green box for a striker duo, Kuipers and Haile Selassie. Now it's time to give out some shout outs. First up, Alan Aragoni gets a shout out. I think he did a really good job in the first half being on that right flank, and did just as good on the second half as a center back. His versatility has saved this back line multiple times, and I just really like him. The kid's got heart. He was thugging it out in the last 10 minutes of the game with like a hamstring cramp or something. Next shout out is to Jonathan Dean. I thought he did really well. Just like in the match against Orlando City, he found his way up the pitch without sacrificing his defensive duties. He's doing a great job, and it's only a matter of time before he gets an assist, or maybe just a hockey assist, but he's gonna get something. Next up, it's a shout out for Chihos. I thought he had a really good game today. He was so close to getting a green box. Chihos won all of his tackles, blocked a ton of shots, and was a crucial part in getting the ball out of the Fire's half. And his passes and long balls were incredibly accurate throughout the night. The only blemish in his game today was that unlucky handball that costed the Fire a clean sheet. And speaking of clean sheets, the next shout out goes to Brady. He didn't get tested a ton, but like always, if there's a real chance in blocking a shot, he's going to do it. Even in that penalty, he dove in the right direction. The Fire is so lucky to have such a high caliber goalkeeper, and I know great things are going to happen for Brady. And my next and final shout out is going to go to Herbers and Acosta. They both had great games. Acosta had great off the ball movement, and Herbers did a great job at being a defensive force in that midfield. But what I truly loved about these two in this match is that they pushed Guti to be involved. It was subtle, but Herbers and Acosta would keep giving the ball back to Guti, and they would whisper something and Guti would just go off. That was just awesome to see. Acosta and Herbers being the veteran mentors for a growing talent just makes sense. You know, it still feels pretty surreal. The Fire actually won a game. I'm actually starting to believe that Gutierrez tucking in his shirt was the real reason why we won. Watching the Fire win against the LA Galaxy just brought so much joy to me. And that same joy is the reason why we're always 97 till forever.